Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange Coordinates, a show where we use brands as compass points to lead us to fascinating stories. I'm Aydan Sarakaya.
And I'm Robert Baylog. Along with our partner Topher, Aydan and I lead an ad agency called Territorial that helps brands find their place in the world. But we are not the only ones who love brands. On this podcast, Stranger Coordinates, we focus on a specific theme and we bring along a traveling companion to help us on the journey.
And today we're diving into the world of finance. We've touched on financial brands a few times in our podcast, from the shoot from the hip days of the early 2000s Wall Street in our BlackBerry episode, to the subtle, not so subtle signals financial brands use in our Chime episode. But today we're getting an insider's perspective.
That's right. Joining us as a traveling companion today is the head of Wealth and Investment Solutions at DTCC, where she leads the team building the infrastructure that powers key parts of the wealth ecosystem, from funds to insurance and retirement and private markets. A longtime fintech and financial infrastructure leader, she's previously driven digital asset and tokenization initiatives at BNY and developed blockchain-based solutions at startup Digital Asset Holdings. She began her career working on collateral systems at JP Morgan, and through lived experience, she brings a unique perspective on how technology is reshaping the future of investing, market infrastructure, and financial services more broadly. We are so happy to have with us today Talia Klein. Talia, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you here.
Traveling companion, I love that line. Well branded.
We want this to be a fun journey, so you should not be exhausted by the end. But we're really glad to have you here. As we mentioned, We've talked a lot about finance on this podcast as outsiders in some ways to the system. So we're really eager to hear from you about some of the really interesting things that you've noticed working at a financial brand. But maybe it's best just to start with you and what brought you to financial services in the first place. Like, what brought you there, and what do you think people outside of finance don't get about it?
Well, I want to start by saying I hope you guys noticed that I wore green because I listened to the Chime episode. So
you're giving innovation.
I'm giving innovation. That was important. It may or may not have been my idea, and someone may or may not have texted me at 7 a.m. to remind me to wear green today, which tells you how my memory is doing right now.
I love it.
So I started my career in finance. Honestly, I feel like lots of people have dreams of working on Wall Street and the glamour and the glory of it all. I studied abroad in Cape Town, South Africa, with a lot of people who went to a university where they did on-campus recruiting. I ended up being told you should do on-campus recruiting, and I was like, what is that? And they're like, it's an easy way to get a summer job. Not so easy, but it kind of meant you didn't have to leave campus.
Right.
And I ended up interviewing at a couple places, got an offer from JP Morgan, did the internship, and then went back full time to do one of the rotational analyst programs. I'm a big early career talent proponent. Mm-hmm. It's there's a strong apprenticeship culture on Wall Street. For those who don't work in it, I don't think there's such an awareness of that. But that's how I started my career, and then ended up loving working on systems, and kind of the rest is history a little bit. It's been an amazing journey. I don't think it's brought me all over the world. Traveling companion, my suitcase has been a lot of places. India, Dallas.
Wow,
Dallas culturally might be more different than New York, I think, than India sometimes. A lot of time in Europe. I buy magnets from every city. I started doing this 2 years ago. I get magnets from all the cities that I go to for work. So I got a DC magnet this week.
Oh, amazing. You mentioned the apprenticeship program as something people might not know about Wall Street. What else, from the outside looking in, do you think that people don't know about the financial sector, about what it's like to work there, about the people, about the culture, things like that?
It's a great question. I think one of the things that I think about a lot within this industry, and I think I started realizing this because a lot of people in my personal life would often say to me, you love your job. You're so lucky you love your job. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of friends, especially in my early and mid-20s, who didn't love their jobs and were kind of soul searching. And I feel really, really lucky that I just ended up kind of falling into something that I just loved. I think what's amazing about the financial services industry is how diverse the jobs can be, right? I think people have this impression that like everyone's a trader and just like shouting on phone calls all day. You know, like there's that episode of Friends when Phoebe Buffet is like in a dream world, like she was a finance executive, and I feel like that's I'm a big Friends fan. I feel like that's what people view finance as. My sister, one of my sisters, doesn't. She's works in the education system, and she's often like, "What do you do all day?" And she's like, "I just envision you like sitting there like click-clacking away on a keyboard and like answering phones." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's not really that. I think there's so much diversity in the types of roles. There's so many interesting people. It's so global. I find it's really mission oriented in a lot of ways, where you get to work on things that like have a huge amount of scale, and especially being at DTCC, what I have the opportunity to do every day really touches, you know, like 95% of the mutual fund activity, if you exclude money market funds, is processed through one of the platforms that my team runs. So it just can give you such a diverse career. I've also just made friends all over the world, different types of industries. You know, even in my role, growing up in like the product landscape, you know, how I got to know you guys doing marketing and branding, and I think people have a narrow view of what Wall Street is, and it can be so much more than that.
Yeah. I mean, okay, two things. One, I either forgot or never knew that Phoebe's last name was Buffet, so thank you for reminding me.
I watched Friends I'm like one of those people who watches TV to go to bed, and I watched Friends probably since like middle school or high school until maybe like 5 years ago, every night falling asleep. And I had to stop because I know all the episodes so well.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't relaxing because my brain was just running lines.
Yeah.
Okay, this is perfect. So when we do a Friends episode, we know who to have back on as a guest.
Yeah. Not exactly my like public area of expertise, but I'm a huge sitcom fan. I don't know if we've talked about that before.
We have not, but that's
which is
amazing.
a fun fact about me.
And the second thing is that you mentioned that we have this kind of cultural understanding of Wall Street that is very kind of like, you know, sell, buy, slam a thing down, throw a thing in the pit, like, and to understand, you know, sort of the modern financial services sector as being so much more diverse than that and offering so much more. How do you think that happened? Is it a function of like technology inviting new personality types and new skill sets into financial services? Is it a broader cultural shift? How do you think that occurred?
Yes, look, I've been in the industry like almost 15 years. One of my favorite parts, I need to find time to do this, but for years I've been saying that I want to write like a coffee table book about the history of financial systems, which sounds really like nerdy and niche, but I've had the opportunity to work with people who've been in this industry for like half a century, decades, right? And the stories that people have are amazing. Like I think there's always been a lot of diversity in the roles, but I think there's like almost a, dare I say, like a branding problem, right? Like one of my mentors, I call him Uncle Steve. He's not actually my uncle. Uncle Steve like started his career working in the vaults at Chase, like managing gold bars. And you know, there's stories of like the people who were literally like networking racks of the systems and striking NAVs, which are basically, for those who don't know, like net asset value. It's like the accounting of the fund. And I think the beauty, I feel like it's a really interesting moment to work in this industry because there's almost this generational shift into the technological way. But yeah. I really believe that like you can only build great products and great brands if you know the history of where they came from and ultimately the why behind that.
Yeah. You've mentioned systems a couple times, and I think it's really fascinating because as brand experts on our side, we're systems thinkers as well. You know, brand is really a type of system, a system of signals and symbols that kind of communicate. And on our Chime episode, one of the things we talked a lot about was how financial brands kind of use different types of signals and systems to signal value to customers. So I want you to maybe switch into your marketing hat and think about at the range of institutions either you've worked at or that you're familiar with. Think about if any that you feel from a brand perspective were especially good at communicating values to their customers. I'm curious if you feel that you worked at a place, you admired a place that was like, man, they really just know how to tell people what they're all about, and what about that really kind of intrigued you?
So I started my career at JP Morgan, and I feel like I probably, from a brand perspective, that like probably had the biggest impression on me in terms of like what the brand stands for. There's a line, and I don't know if this is like the mission statement or the tagline or like whatever. Although I feel like I pretend to be on TV like a marketing person. You'll tell me what it is because you guys are the experts. But there's a line that they use at JP Morgan: first class business in a first class way. And I think about that a lot. It's like so embedded in me, and like the excellence that, from Jamie Dimon down is just instilled in everyone there. I mean, even if you think about their new headquarters and the new building and how people show up and the training programs and all of that, it's a really remarkable institution that I think doesn't, because it's so excellent, like the firm is so excellent, they don't have to oversell their story. It's just so embedded. And I think that's a really interesting thing. I was working on a press release a couple of years ago, and this has stuck with me, and someone had given us the feedback, if you have to say it, it's not true. And I think JP Morgan is a really emblematic of that. Like, they don't oversell because they're just excellent, and you know that from how you engage with them and how, they're always available, and first class business in a first class way.
Yeah. I feel like that also came through even on their credit card business. I feel like there's always just been such like a consumer attachment to that being like great, excellent, great customer service. You can use your card wherever. They were one of like the few that didn't have international transaction fees for a while. So it was like, regardless of where you were in the financial system, even, the lay consumer was hitting that as well.
Yeah, but I think brand, I mean, I've been on the institutional side of financial services for most of my career, and I do think the concept of brand has become more important as like social media and just media is constantly in our purview. I don't think, when I started my career, I don't think people thought about like marketing quite as much as the moment we're in right now, and how you show up like with video and TikTok and Instagram and social media and like all of these things. But ultimately, I think in a lot of ways it's about like how you show up every day, right? You can't, like, the brand has to be authentic, right? If you have to say it, it's not true. Like, the brand has to be authentic to the products you're delivering, to the services you're providing, and that you can't fake.
Yeah.
And I think people notice when it's not authentic.
Yeah, Topher talks a lot about brand as behavior. Brand isn't just it's not a logo or a tagline or a message. It is the way in which your business behaves, and that means the way in which it communicates, but also the way in which it transacts and the way in which it trains. And I really liked how you were talking about how, brand is as inwardly manifest as it is outwardly manifest, that it is about the way in which people within that company kind of organize themselves and behave. Totally. And I think that's really, really cool. And I mean, you have
to like believe it, right? Like you have to you have to believe it, and you have to make it, as a leader, like in my view, you have to make it a part of your culture in everything you do and how you show up and how you tell the story externally, internally, what you talk about at family dinner, like it's real, like you have to live it. And I think there's this interesting like dynamic of people being like, personal life and professional life, but who you are as a person and how you show up every day really affects like the experience of those around you from both, an employee and a leadership perspective.
And as somebody who's been connected to, product, how have you seen like the brand influence and make easy the work that you do, or affect or shape the work that you do that is maybe not necessarily about communication, but is about product development, it's about customer relationships?
Yeah, I'm smiling because I think for a lot of I've always kind of been at the bleeding edge of kind of technological advancements. I spent most of my career working on digital assets and crypto, and within a traditional finance context, or TradFi, as the crypto kids call us. And I think in many ways, the traditional finance brands for a long time like worked against that evolution, if that makes sense. I think the question was, how do we, like, that we asked ourselves, like, how do you bring that trust? How do you bring the value of the traditional finance system to this new and emerging space? And we're seeing the same thing with the work I'm doing on private markets, and some of the other stuff. But what I think you have to be, back to like authenticity and honesty, like you have to be honest with yourself about like, who are you in the system and where do you show up and how do you show up authentically? So like, one of the things that I thought a lot about was there's a lot of events in the digital asset space. So when I was working more in that space, I thought a lot about like, what am I wearing to these events, right? What am I talking about at these events? It looks really different going to like a traditional finance conference than it does going to a digital assets conference. If I'm wearing a full suit and a blazer, like no one in those spaces or those, to use your word, like systems, is gonna trust me.
Right.
I once went to an event. It was like the first digital assets event that I went to, and we got invited late to this thing, and it was at someone's house, and I didn't want to show up empty-handed because I'm Jewish, and my mother would
heart attack.
Have a heart attack if I showed up empty-handed. And the normal thing would have been to like bring a bottle of wine. But there was no liquor store where I was, and I was at a Cuban restaurant in Miami. So I was like, okay, I'm going to bring empanadas.
I mean, yes.
So we like show up and we get there, and I'm like, give the empanadas to the guy who's hosting the party. And then everyone's eating the empanadas, and me and two other colleagues are there. And everyone's like, who brought the empanadas? Like, these are amazing. And they said, the company that I worked for at the time. And they were like, wow, we didn't expect, like, this was what that company's people were going to, be like. And it was a really interesting kind of inflection point for me to be like, okay, like, how one shows up in these spaces matters. How you brand yourself as a person, how you represent the firm, how you represent yourself. I grew up going to Jewish day school, and there was I don't think we call this anymore, the headmaster and like the head of school. And before bar and bat mitzvah year, his name was Arnie Zarkessler. And Mr. Zarkessler would sit everyone down and say, you are going to go to lots of events this year. You represent yourself. You represent your family. You represent the school. You represent the community. You represent all of the Jewish people. And no pressure on like
that escalated
12-year-old,
quickly.
Right? It escalated. But I think about that all the time because like, and by the way, every time we like got in trouble for like talking during services, Mr. Zarkessler gave the same speech. So it's very ingrained because we were always talking because we were 12 or 13 years old.
Right.
But I think about that all the time with the work that I do. And it sounds maybe like a stretch, but I think it's relevant to brand.
Yeah. And do you still, on every day, think that you are representing all the Jewish people everywhere you go?
That's another podcast. But yeah, that again, back to my mother. I think that's my mother and father are very ingrained.
Well, I think the empanadas were like a master stroke because there's nothing. I'm up for empanadas at all times, and it is in fact like when like my wife is out and I'm just by myself, I will secretly order myself empanadas because I'm like,
where do you order them from? I feel like
Empanada
I need to
Mama.
know this.
Yeah, that's the best.
What's your go-to flavor?
I like the Brazil, the classic like ground beef with the, just the old standard.
I love a ham and cheese empanada.
Oh, that's tasty too. Yeah, that's a really good one.
So good. Melted cheese, nothing better. I'm not representing the Jewish people on the kosher train with my ham and cheese empanadas.
I just heard like a tisk in the background.
Mr. Zarkessler is somewhere.
He's been summoned. I mean, you mentioned that you've worked in institutional finance most of your career, as opposed to the retail side. But, presumably you have a bank account, and so you've experienced finance from that side as a consumer. You've kind of understood how those brands talk to you as a consumer. And I'm curious if you have any sense, you mentioned like being really aware of your audience and the space you're moving into. And I'm curious if you have a sense of like, what challenges you think that an institutional brand has communicating to its audience that are different than, say, like Wells Fargo talking to you as a potential account holder. When you think about like your audience and the people that the brand is talking to who are going to buy your services, are there things that you feel like are especially difficult or challenging for institutional financial brands to do that maybe it's easier for a consumer or retail-based product to do?
It's funny. I was thinking, like after we caught up last week prepping for this, I was thinking about, it must have been like somewhere between 2013 and 2015. I remember walking by an ad for like a mobile app, and the account balance in it, in like the physical ad, was like, I don't know, it was like maybe said like $600,000 in like the checking account balance. And I remember saying to someone like, that's not going to resonate with like the average person.
Right.
And I remember, I think that was probably like my first real like, wow, how do financial brands talk to people moment. And because I don't think financial lives were as like ubiquitous in everyone's life pre-mobile, or like pre-iPhone or whatever. I think back to like when I started college, I went to the University of Michigan for a year, and there was like TCF Bank, I remember, and like everyone went and like opened an account at TCF Bank, and it was like this yellow kind of Michigan branded card. These days, I'd be interested if that even still happens, right? Because everything's so mobile oriented right now. You can tap to pay. Like, you don't need to open a checking account in Michigan if you go to school in Michigan.
Right.
Which it's like funny that that was like a thing that you had to do. I think that similarly, our institutional finance, I think historically we've like talked about branding in a really different way, but I think, and I was thinking about the color stories, if you will. Yeah. I think that the evolution, because of, again, how ubiquitous media is in our daily lives, I think the marketing is merging in certain ways. Like, you have to figure out how do you talk to client needs, how do you explain really complicated topics in clear ways, how do you get your message out there quickly, because we all have the attention spans of fleas right now. And so, but I think it's converging in a way that like I want my clients and customers and our members to like be delighted by what they see when we come out with something. I want that to resonate with them. I want to be able to talk to them in a way that they can talk about what we do at a dinner party. And I think in some ways also like the personal finance apps are becoming more complicated because they can do more things. So those guys are figuring out how do they then have to tell those stories, right? Like, how does, like just on a personal level, like I love using Wise as a product because I travel a lot internationally. And like, how do you explain to the average person like FX rates and all of that versus just saying like, I can send someone in another country money and I don't have to think about it. So I think those complicated topics, the personal kind of retail stuff is becoming much more sophisticated. So it's interesting to see, institutional become a little more direct and straightforward, and retail become a little more complicated.
That's such a good point. So many of those organizations that started as like a very specific, like this is the lane and this is the product we offer, have now diversified. The simplest version of that being like a Venmo where you're paying money back and forth, but now they have cards associated with Venmo, right? They're part of the PayPal umbrella. Like, you can continue to go on from there.
And I don't think people realize, like, I think building great products is obfuscating the complexity.
Yeah.
But then I think there's like this interesting nuance where people want to share more and be more like, here's the complexity of what we do, but like, no one really, like, does anyone care how it's done under the hood? Or, like, does Robert just want to get his money in real time?
Right.
Like, I'm a finance nerd and an infrastructure nerd, so, like, I love it. But at the end of the day, customers and consumers want the user experience to be, like, to use the word again, like, delightful. And they want to be able to click a button and in the, like, in the same way that I can, order anything I want on Amazon and it just magically arrives at my door, like that's what people want out of how I think they manage their money.
Yeah. We one of the big unlocks in I think the last 15 years or so is when people talked about B2B, business to business advertising and communications, we suddenly realized that on the other end of that communication was a human. That
we suddenly realized
it wasn't like one building talking to another building. It was, a business trying to convince humans who are going to make decisions at another business to do something. And so you've seen B2B communications become much more humanized and warm. You've seen techniques being used in advertising that feel very much from the world of consumers. And what's really fascinating about what you talked about is that the consumer world is also, because it's being driven by tech, is in some ways becoming more complex, and there's a convergence happening between them that is really, really fascinating, that you'll start to see them sharing some of the same communication 100%. Challenges.
Have I told you guys before about every time I go to San Francisco, so I probably go to San Francisco like 4 times a year at this point for personal stuff or work, and every time I go, since last summer, every time I go, I do an assessment of what the billboards say.
Yes, I love this.
And yeah, I think I was a marketing person in a past life.
100%.
Definitely.
Or maybe a future life. But like the billboards in San Francisco, I think are so interesting because they're so technical, but they're trying to like make it real for people. And they change like every quarter, basically. I've noticed that like they evolve. And I'm like, these are the signals as a product builder that I'm like, okay, like I think last summer, I'm trying to remember when I was there in July, like everything was one thing. And then I was there in the fall or winter and like everything was about agents. And then I was there in the spring and last summer everything was about APIs, then agents, and then there was all this like human kind of like labor stuff associated with AI when I was there a couple weeks ago. And every time I go, now people know, they're like, okay, like what's the readout on the billboards? Like where are we focused?
Oh my God, I love this. Are you making content out of this? This needs to be somewhere.
I should.
Yeah, this is incredible.
The
billboard.
I have a lot of good content ideas. My execution isn't there yet.
I love this. So what you're saying is that based on the billboards in San Francisco, the AI companies are having some qualms about the replacement of human beings. They're trying to reassure us all now. Is that kind of?
It was both sides of it. So that was what was really interesting. Like on one side, it was like, you don't want to wait. Like use an agent. AI is amazing. And on the other side, it was like, keep instilling humanness in the AI stuff. So it was just like that was what the most interesting part about it was that like. Usually I found the billboards are all kind of swimming in the same direction, but these were kind of in conversation with each other and conflicting. I don't know if I'm like overdoing the billboards.
No,
I tend to be an overthinker. So I might be overthinking it, but I think there's something there.
Billboards are important in San Francisco. When I lived there, it was a very like the Yahoo billboard was right off the highway, and it's sort of like it was a statement piece. Then the companies talk to each other through their billboard placements. So you're onto something, I think.
Right? There was I remember last summer there was I think like a New York Stock Exchange and a NASDAQ billboard right when you left the airport, like right behind each other. And I was like, this is kind of random. Like we're not in New York. Like this isn't like a finance town. And then I was like, because they're trying to like pitch for IPOs. And so again, I'm overthinking the billboards, but I think it's interesting.
You've got a career as a media commentator ahead of you. I think this is ready for you.
I love it.
I feel like you're really warmed up. Aydan, what do you think?
I think we are warmed up, and great news. A lot of this discussion is actually foreshadowing for some of the questions that we're going to get into. So I'm very excited.
Love.
We didn't know the questions though, right?
No.
This is a surprise.
This is all a surprise.
No, this is a surprise. That was just where our conversation went, which is wonderful. We're going to do our segment that we call Off-Brand, where I'm going to ask you 3 brand-related questions Robert also doesn't know, connected to our theme. So it'll be about financial brands.
Okay.
All right. Amazing.
Okay, the first one is a fill in the blank. I'm hopefully starting with something a little more evergreen, so let's fingers crossed. And if you need hints or options, I also have those.
There's
well.
no shame.
I'm nervous.
Yeah, if you need a hint,
And
there's no shame
nervous.
asking for it.
No shame. Okay, so this one's a fill in the blank. So we need to fill in the blank from this famous financial brand's tagline.
Ooh.
There are some things money can't buy. For everything else,
There's MasterCard.
Nice.
Yes,
That was a
yes.
lob. That was a lob.
Nice little lob up, but it was interesting though because this was made in 1997, which I kind of can't believe.
That
The
is
campaign was
That's a timeless line.
That is
Right?
shocking.
yeah, I feel like I associate it with childhood, but I guess I didn't realize that it had been around that long.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It was originally called Priceless. So the whole point of the campaign was to make sure that people don't have an emotional connection to payment networks. So how do we create an emotional connection?
I love that.
So they wanted to shift away from transactions to experiences, and as early as 1997, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's hugely powerful, and it's funny because, MasterCard kind of was the not MasterCard, sorry, American Express was the kind of key player in that game. I mean, they were able to apply emotion to transactions simply because they were so connected to travel and the experience of travel. And it was really, really key when MasterCard came out and did that. And they sort of changed the game for transactional finance. And it's been such an evergreen campaign. It's still around. I mean, they still get so much mileage out of it.
Yeah, a lot of high ROI on whatever ad agency they did for that.
Yeah, really.
It was the previous versions of McCann.
Oh.
Very Don Draper.
Yeah, quite. I love a tagline too that takes its time. You know what I mean? Like that one, you're not getting. That's not like a just do it. That one is okay. How am I gonna get there?
Pay attention. Yeah, you're like we're paying attention.
That's
great.
When I worked on a TD Ameritrade, the campaign was officially called the Independent Spirit, but the line was, "Independence is the spirit that drives America's most successful investors," and I was like, that's a chunky line. Just luxuriate in it. You're not chew up those 10 seconds of airtime. It doesn't matter. I don't think anybody would really do that today because it's just sort of like I need to cut this down to a 6. So how do I fit a tagline into a 6-second social spot? So okay, sorry.
Yeah, and you're very much reading it rather than saying it.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. Okay, here we go. I do have multiple choice if you want multiple choice on this one. Let's start as just let's see if we can get the answer. Otherwise,
Talia's
we can go.
Ace this though.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe these were too easy.
Oh god. Now there's a lot of pressure.
Now, we just raised the stakes. Okay, so which online bank was the first among major U.S. financial brands to position itself as the bank with no branches as a competitive advantage?
Oh god, I definitely know this. Okay, hold on.
Ooh.
Which online bank was the one with no? Oh god.
I feel like I want multiple choice.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, what do you
Multiple
think?
choice.
Wait, no, Talia. She's.
I'm thinking.
I think she might get there. Because there's several options that I'm thinking about.
I mean, TD is very branch heavy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Robinhood's doing a lot of things around payments and cash, without physical locations.
I think I might know what it is. Should I guess?
Yeah,
do you want to guess for us?
You give your guess.
I think it might be Ally.
Robert, well done.
Thank you.
Wow.
That was
I'm
really
not so
good.
familiar with Ally.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I did a little research because I was like, that's so interesting. It launched in 2009, and it was actually a rebrand from GMAC Bank.
Oh.
And at that time, most of the U.S. banks were still competing on having branch locations, ATM footprint, face-to-face relationships. So them not having branches was part of their positioning.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought was, if we don't maintain branches, then you as our customer get better rates and a simpler experience.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
GMAC.
Who's the Ally target demographic?
I've remembered being, I don't know, not low income earners, but smaller account sizes.
Got it. Okay.
you know.
It was definitely the anti-bank bank, right? Because that's also like right after the financial crisis.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Fascinating.
And then
Okay,
they
that
were
was a good one.
purple, right? Like they
They're purple.
they used purple. They were just sort of like they used comedy in their spots. Do you remember
Yeah.
the one where they're like they would like took lollipops away from kids to kind of to show
I
show
don't
how like
remember
how
that
banks
one.
are like behave. They're like, what if a bank acted like this?
What's everyone's favorite bank lollipop color?
It depends on what brand they have in there. Because like if they have Dum
The
Dums,
okay, let's start with like the circle ones.
The like Dum-Dums?
No, like the ones that are like the
flat
flat circles.
I like a orange. In those like those super generic ones, I think orange is the only one that tastes remotely like whatever it's supposed to be. Like I don't know what I'm doing with blue. What's blue doing?
Yeah, blue's weird. I'm a green girl.
Oh, I think I like the red. I don't even know what flavor it is,
Yeah.
but I have a image of myself eating a red one.
Yeah.
Eating red one. I'm a green one. And then Dum Dums. What's your go-to flavor?
I love the lemon.
Really?
I like the one that's like the mystery flavor that kind of tastes like pineapple a little bit, but not entirely.
That's on brand for you.
Yeah.
I'm a peach.
Oh,
Peach
that's a
all
good
the way.
call.
Oh,
I
that's
love
good.
like peach, anything peach
That's a great call.
flavored. Maybe that'll be my like brand for a day when we get to that part of this.
I love that.
Oh yeah, coming soon.
Coming soon.
All right, so we are collectively we're 2 for 2. I'm liking this.
Collectively, we're 2 for 2, which is awesome. Okay, here we go. Which financial brand generated massive buzz during Super Bowl LVI, which is 2022, with a commercial consisting almost entirely of only a bouncing QR code?
Coinbase.
Exactly right.
I actually
Exactly
didn't know
right.
that. I was at a loss there.
60 seconds of nothing but a bouncing QR code that moved around the screen, kind of looking like one of those old screensavers for the DVDs.
Yeah.
And their site traffic went down because they were offering free Bitcoin for people who signed up, or you could like enter into a sweepstakes for more Bitcoin prizes.
And people went to the sweepstakes or
And people went bonkers for it. So their website
Oh, the
just
site
went
itself
down.
went down.
Oh, I
the
thought you
traffic
said
went
the
up, the
traffic.
site went
Yeah.
down.
yeah.
Oh no,
Wow.
sorry, website. Yeah, like their tech traffic was just too high.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wow.
Do you know? Do you know what they spent on the media? The media it must have been
God, no, I didn't get that
7
number, but
million,
I'm
something
sure
like
it's
that.
insane.
Like, yeah, totally.
60 seconds is a long time for a
It's
Super
a
Bowl commercial.
huge-
There were a
long
lot
time.
of crypto ads that year. That was like the Larry
Yes.
David FTX ad, I think.
Were you in? Were you at Digital Assets at that time?
I was working on digital assets, but I wasn't at the startup at that point. I was in my role at BNY.
And what did you think about seeing all that stuff? You know, like were you like, oh, are they shining a light where you don't want things shined, or did you think it was cool?
I think I've always kind of had this personal tension of like it's really cool to work on something that everyone's interested
Yeah.
in, and it's like a lot of pressure. I keep finding myself in things that are very relevant, which is fun. Some of my friends think, you know, sometimes I'm like, I just want like to do something like a little more straightforward, a little quieter, and they're like, that's never gonna be you. So, trying to like accept my fate.
I love it. We're going to move on to a section where we do less of the talking, and you are leading the expedition. This is what we call the omnipotent brand manager. So basically, it's a thought experiment. So you've just been promoted to the most powerful brand manager in the history of creation for the span of a single project. I know. It is... How could you be more powerful than a normal brand manager? Well, we just invented it. For the span of a single project, so you can do anything for any brand. So what brand would you work with, and what would you do for that brand? What would you have them? What would you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so one of my good friends is a brand manager in like food products, and so I have a lot of friends who are in marketing and comms, and it seems like my whole social life is people who do that. So, which I'm always jealous of because it sounds very fun. So she, I hear a lot about. She did frozen foods for a while. She did pickles.
Ooh, fun.
I think she worked on like a Dolly Parton pot pie partnership. So whenever we travel, we go to see different frozen foods aisles in other countries in the world. Not a lot of frozen foods in France, let me tell you. But the peach, my peach Dum Dum story made me think of, I love Diet Peach Snapple.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I love Snapple.
Yeah.
And I was really into Honest Tea.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't drink coffee. So I eat a lot of sugar and drink a lot of tea. And not that Snapple's really tea per se. But I was trying to like get myself off the aspartame.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no Diet Coke, no Diet Peach Snapple, which are my two favorite beverages. And so I was drinking Honest Tea for a long time. And then Honest Tea closed, which was like so tragic for me. I bought like cases before it closed, and then they reopened under a different brand. But I'm pretty sure that the formula changed, so it doesn't taste the same. So now I'm fully back on the aspartame. Actually, one of the best parts of working at DTCC is that we have like a movie theater soda machine. So I am Diet Coke. Back to Diet Coke every day. Speaking of content, I love the Diet Coke content on Instagram. So I'm going to pick that I am the brand manager for Snapple, because Snapple is so interesting because it's showing up in more places. But I think, and you guys will tell me if I had done my research on this, like I think it was like really only an East Coast thing. And now it's showing up in a lot of different places. I noticed I found it at an airport last week. But Diet Peach is not always available, and I think that's the best flavor.
I mean, Snapple's a great choice because they were really inventive early on as a marketer as well. They did a lot of fun things, like they turned their product into much more of a messaging opportunity, like the caps and everything like that.
Yep.
But I feel like they went, they kind of got swarmed by a lot of the Honest Teas and all those other brands that like were.
They outlived Honest Tea, though.
They did. Okay, So going back to your first love, Snapple, what would you want to do for Snapple? How would you want to push them in a new direction?
How would I want to push them in a new direction? I just think that there's opportunity for them to go like more broadly. Like I think there's definitely a geographic aspect of Snapple. I think I really associate it with like the bagel sandwich that I get, at a deli. Then I probably associate with like Jewish stuff as well. So I don't know if that's accurate. I feel like I associate it with like a black and white cookie. Like it's very East Coast, New York. And I think it's a great drink. And I think there's like lots of opportunity to expand across the country. But then I think there's in the tea vertical and the kind of like non-caffeinated space or caffeinated, I think there's a real opportunity for then like, I think we have a hole with Honest Tea, like being out of the market. I think there's something there.
Would Snapple still be Snapple if it was like healthy Snapple? If it didn't have as much sugar, do you think it could be the same brand, or would it need to create like something annoying like Snap Light or
Well, they've changed diets. I should say, as the omnipotent brand manager.
Yeah.
They've changed Diet Peach Snapple or Diet Snapple to like Snapple Zero, I think is what it's now called. And what's interesting is the caps indicate whether it's zero or not. So I think it's like blue caps for full sugar, white caps for zero sugar. And then I do think that there's a market for like healthier alternative, because right now you have like the pure, I think it's called like pure iced tea or whatever, that's like feels very kind of commercial and has like no flavor, and I love black iced tea, but like I don't love that black iced tea. And then you have like the very sugary Snapple kind of whatever, the zero sugar, and then I think there's an opportunity in between.
Do you remember Arizona iced tea? Is that still around? Is Arizona still?
Yes.
Yeah, that is still around.
My brother-in-law always buys a giant Arizona iced tea. It's really, really sweet.
It's so sweet. I used to drink the green tea one that came in like the jade.
The green bottle?
Yeah, the jadish green bottle with the cherry blossoms on it.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, I am cramming myself filled with sugar right now. I was like,
I feel like that's the first like weight loss like thing that they talk about is like don't drink your calories.
yeah.
Yeah, that was. But I do feel like drinks, like the beverage vertical, like had a real moment in the Arizona iced tea era, and then it was kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, with the poppy soda and like everything, like it's having a moment again for sure.
I think just to use your billboard, billboards as a cultural finger in the wind. I think that the beverage category is also a really good place to read what's happening in culture. Like you can really tell shifts.
A lot of choice right now.
A lot of choice, like small makers, CBD, natural ingredients, like design is totally different. Like you can see like the design on the cans. It really tells you a lot about what we're liking and thinking about now, and it's so diverse and
totally. But Diet Coke has survived.
What
was your childhood like? What did your family drink at dinner in the beverage category?
We were not soda and with any meal ever. But
okay.
There's two things. So my grandfather, my dad grew up in Charlotte, and my grandparents lived in Charlotte, and Charlotte's a Pepsi town. And so my grandfather had a trampoline in the backyard and one of those outdoor coolers, and it always had cold Pepsi in it, like just ice cold.
So would you choose Pepsi over Coke then?
I very much like Diet Pepsi way more than Diet Coke. Like way
fascinating.
more.
I think you're like the first person I've met.
Oh, I cannot explain how much better it tastes to me.
Aydan, what did you have growing up?
Yeah, we also were not big pop drinkers. Here we go, West Coast. But my special, like the thing I always wanted was root beers, but like root beer from the bottle, like not in the can, like a proper A&W root beer or something like that. I always loved.
I love a root beer.
We were a huge soda family.
Were you
really? I'm embarrassed to say this. Like I've been drinking Diet Coke, I think, since I was like 4 years old. Diet Coke, Fresca, Diet Dr. Pepper, Diet root beer. Diet Coke's really the only one I like, and like sometimes Fresca, but my dad, if there's not like a diverse array of diet sodas in the house, but we'll not drink Diet Pepsi for what it's worth. So
right, you got to
don't tell your grandfather, Robert.
I won't. Dr. Pepper was one that also was big for me as a kid because it was just so hard to place what the hell flavor that was. Like, what am I?
Yeah. What is it?
No idea. No idea. And
I will tell you though, my family is from the Midwest, so they also call it pop. And I went to camp out there, and I would call it soda, and all the girls at summer camp would be like, but it's called pop. And I would call they would call it sneakers, tennis shoes. Yeah. And so I was like very, diverse and like intriguing coming from the East Coast. But my grandfather, back to bar and bat mitzvahs, he always talks about the story. There's a soda in Ohio in the Midwest called Verner's, which is ginger ale. And my grandfather had Verner's on tap at his bar mitzvah.
Amazing. That's a flex. So, that's a bit of a flex.
Yeah, that is. So if you ever come out to visit us in Michigan, we'll make sure there's Verner's for you to try.
I mean, here's what I'm hearing from you in terms of your plans for Snapple. I think I think one thing that could be interesting is going broader, but like leaning into regional partnerships. Like so.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so like
Verner's X Snapple.
Yeah,
that would be a really niche market.
Totally, or in the New York area doing like something with Russ and Daughters or a good deli or something like that. Like a really good tie-ins. I'm loving this.
I love that. Yeah, speaking of San Francisco, I had an amazing bagel in San Francisco, so I
don't believe it, but that's.
I swear I'm going to send it to you after. It was. I hate when I go places and people order food and they're like, "We're going to order bagels because you're from New York and you love bagels," and I'm like, "That's a reason not to order bagels." But they were on that trip to San Francisco. My friend in Oakland was like, "No, just trust me," and it was so good.
I will allow it. We'll allow it.
Burgeoning partnership opportunity.
Okay, brilliant. Amazing. This has been so much fun.
Yes.
So much fun.
We've learned so much today, Talia, and it's been so great to cover a wide range of topics, everything from bank lollipops to talking about your history coming up through the industry. As well as, doing a quiz. So we're so appreciative for you being game with us and spending the time today.
Absolutely.
Been fabulous.
Thank you guys so much. It has been so fun, and I love. There's so much opportunity in this industry, and how we talk about it, and how we brand it, and how we think about the value that we add to the communities we operate in, society in general. So thank you for giving me the opportunity and teaching me so much. This was really fun.
This has been great. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening. If you want to learn more about Territorial and how we help brands find their place in the world, go to our website, which is www.weareterritorial.com. And when you're there, you can subscribe to our mailing list and get all our amazing news and learn about what we're up to in general. And then I guess we'll just see you next time here on Strange Coordinates. Thanks again, Talia. Thanks, Aydan. What a fun time.
Yeah.